Sick Grizzly Bear was about to be euthanized. This human baby approached him and did something shocking. Let us know where you're watching from. The morning mist hung low over Pine Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary as Dr. Olivia Bennett walked with heavy steps toward the isolation enclosure. Her heart felt like stone in her chest. After 3 weeks of trying everything possible, the massive grizzly bear named Thunder wasn't responding to treatment. His once powerful body now lay still on the straw bedding, his breathing shallow and labored. Today would be his last day. "I'm so sorry, big guy," Olivia whispered as she checked his vital signs one final time. Thunder had been found collapsed near a stream, suffering from a mysterious illness that caused severe weight loss and lethargy. Despite blood tests, medications, and round-the-clock care, the bear's condition only worsened. His eyes, once bright and alert, remained half-closed, his magnificent fur dulled and matted. The sanctuary's director, Marcus Hayes, joined Olivia by the enclosure. "Any improvement at all?" he asked, though his tone revealed he already knew the answer. Olivia shook her head. "His organ function is declining rapidly. Keeping him alive is just prolonging his suffering." Her voice cracked slightly as she added, "The euthanasia is scheduled for noon. I just hate giving up on him." As the staff prepared for the difficult procedure, a young couple approached the viewing area. Savannah Reed held her 14-month-old daughter Emma in her arms, while her husband Logan pushed an empty stroller. They had been regular visitors to the sanctuary, and Emma especially loved watching the animals. "The grizzly section is closed today," Marcus explained gently, moving to redirect them. "We have a medical situation." "Is something wrong with Thunder?" Savannah asked, noticing the solemn faces of the staff. She had read about the rescued bear in the local newspaper. Marcus hesitated before answering. "I'm afraid he's very ill. We've tried everything, but sometimes nature has other plans." He didn't have the heart to tell them they were preparing to put the bear down within the hour. Just then, little Emma began squirming in her mother's arms, pointing emphatically toward Thunder's enclosure. "Bee! Bee!" she exclaimed, her face lighting up with the innocent joy only a child could feel in such a somber moment. "She loves bears," Logan explained with an apologetic smile. "We have a stuffed one at home she won't sleep without." Olivia glanced at the clock, then at the family. Something in the child's bright eyes touched her. "Would you like to say goodbye to him?" "From a safe distance, of course. He's too weak to move, but it's still protocol." The family nodded, and Marcus reluctantly led them to the viewing area. Through the reinforced glass, they could see Thunder lying on his side, his massive chest barely rising with each breath. The sight was heartbreaking. Such a magnificent creature reduced to a shadow of his former self. Emma pressed her tiny hands against the glass, her eyes wide with concern rather than fear. "Be sick?" she asked, looking up at her mother. "Yes, sweetheart," Savannah answered softly. "The bear is very sick." What happened next would change everything. Emma suddenly began tapping on the glass, making the adults jump. "Bee!" she called out more insistently. And then something extraordinary occurred. Thunder's ear twitched. His massive head shifted slightly toward the sound of the child's voice. The movement was so unexpected that Olivia stepped closer to the glass. For weeks, Thunder had barely responded to any stimulus, yet somehow this tiny human's voice had pierced through his lethargy. "Did you see that?" she whispered to Marcus. He moved toward her. As they watched in disbelief, Emma continued her innocent chatter, completely unaware of the gravity of the situation. With each sound she made, Thunder seemed to stir a little more. His eyelids, which had been drooping for days, opened wider. His massive head lifted slightly from the straw. "This is unusual," Marcus murmured, checking his watch. "The vet will be here in 20 minutes. Olivia couldn't take her eyes off the interaction unfolding before them. "Wait," she said, a desperate idea forming. "Could I try something before the procedure?" Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "At this point, what do we have to lose?" Olivia turned to the Reed family, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time in days. "Would it be possible? I know this sounds unusual, but would you mind if Emma interacted with Thunder a bit more? Under strict supervision, of course." Logan frowned, instinctively pulling his family back a step. "With a grizzly bear? I don't think that's safe, even if he's weak." "I understand your concern," Olivia assured him. "We'd keep Emma completely protected. There's a smaller observation room with a reinforced window that gets closer to the enclosure. Thunder can't reach it, but it might allow for more direct interaction than this public viewing area." Savannah studied the bear, who had now raised his head slightly, his nostrils flaring as if trying to catch Emma's scent even through the glass barrier. "He really does seem to be responding to her," she murmured thoughtfully. "Please," Olivia said softly. "I've been caring for Thunder since he was rescued 3 years ago. He's never hurt anyone, and right now he's dying. In less than an hour, we'll be putting him to sleep permanently. If there's even a small chance your daughter has somehow connected with him." The parents exchanged long looks, having a silent conversation only couples who truly know each other can have. Emma was still pressing her hands against the glass, completely focused on the bear, who now seemed to be watching her with equal interest. "Okay," Logan finally agreed. "But the second anything feels wrong, we're out of there." Marcus immediately radioed the rest of the staff to delay the veterinarian's arrival by 30 minutes. Meanwhile, Olivia led the family through a series of secured doors to a small observation room with a large window that looked directly into Thunder's enclosure from a different angle. The room was typically used for medical observations, with monitors for vital signs and specialized equipment pushed against the walls. "This is Dr. Cassandra Winters," Olivia introduced an older woman with silver-streaked hair who was reviewing charts in the corner. "She's our wildlife behaviorist." Dr. Winters looked up with surprise. "Visitors? Now? Olivia, what's going on?" "Something unexpected," Olivia replied, nodding toward Emma, who had immediately spotted Thunder through the new window and was reaching toward him. "The bear is responding to the child. It's the first significant reaction we've seen in over a week." Dr. Winters' eyebrows shot up as she observed Thunder, who had turned his massive head to face the new window. His eyes, which had been dull and unfocused for days, now tracked Emma's movements. "Fascinating," she murmured, grabbing a notebook. "Let's document this." Emma babbled happily, pointing at Thunder and turning to her parents with excited expressions. "B, Big B. That's right, sweetheart," Savannah said, keeping a protective arm around her daughter while allowing her to stand at the window. Thunder struggled to rise, managing only to lift his upper body slightly before collapsing back onto the straw with a heavy grunt that made everyone except Emma jump. "He's trying to come closer," Dr. Winters observed, scribbling notes frantically. "This is remarkable. His vitals were so depressed earlier today." Olivia checked the monitors that were remotely tracking Thunder's heart rate and temperature. "His heart rate has increased by 20% just since they entered the room. It's still below normal, but that's a significant change." As they watched in amazement, Emma began to sing a simple nursery rhyme her parents sang to her at bedtime. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Her small voice filled the observation room, somehow both fragile and powerful in its innocence. Thunder's reaction was immediate and astonishing. The massive bear's eyes fully opened, and with what appeared to be tremendous effort, he dragged himself a few feet closer to the observation window. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Winters whispered, her scientific detachment momentarily forgotten. "It's as if he recognizes the song," Logan finished, equally mystified. Savannah suddenly gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Wait, Logan, remember the news story about Thunder's rescue? They said he was found in a campsite after some campers abandoned it during a storm." Olivia nodded. "That's right. We assumed he wandered in after they left, looking for food." "What if?" Savannah hesitated, the idea seeming absurd even as she voiced it. What if he was around human families before? What if someone sang that song around him? It's such a common lullaby for children. Dr. Winters looked thoughtful. Bears have excellent long-term memory, and Thunder was always unusually comfortable around humans for a wild grizzly. We assumed he'd just become habituated to people from campsite raids, but... Emma continued singing, completely oblivious to the adults' speculation, focused only on the huge creature who seemed equally fixated on her. Thunder had managed to drag himself to within a few feet of the observation window. His eyes, once clouded with pain, now held a spark of something that looked remarkably like recognition. Just then, one of the junior staff members burst into the observation room, his face flushed with urgency. "Dr. Bennett, we've got the latest blood work back, and there's something you need to see right away." Olivia reluctantly tore her gaze away from the extraordinary scene before her and took the tablet the young man was holding. As she scrolled through the results, her expression shifted from concern to confusion to dawning realization. "Oh my God," she breathed, looking up at her colleagues. "It's not an infection or organ failure. Thunder has been poisoned." The room fell silent, except for Emma's continued singing. "Poisoned," Marcus repeated, his voice dropping to ensure Emma wouldn't pick up on the disturbing news. "How is that possible?" "He's been in our care for weeks." Olivia quickly scanned through the detailed toxicology report. "It's thallium. It's a heavy metal, highly toxic, and it builds up in the system over time. The symptoms are consistent: lethargy, hair loss, neurological effects, but we never tested for it specifically because it's so uncommon." "But how would a wild bear be exposed to thallium?" Logan asked, instinctively pulling Emma a bit closer while allowing her to continue her interaction with Thunder. Dr. Winters's face had gone pale. It wouldn't. Not naturally. She exchanged a meaningful look with Olivia. Someone did this deliberately. The implications hung heavy in the air. Thunder's illness wasn't natural. It was a crime. "I don't understand," Savannah whispered. "Why would anyone want to poison a bear in a sanctuary?" Before anyone could respond, the door to the observation room swung open again. A tall man in a crisp white coat entered, carrying a medical case that everyone knew contained the euthanasia drugs. He stopped short, surprised by the crowd in the normally quiet observation room. "Dr. Harmon," Olivia said, stepping forward, "we need to cancel the procedure. We've found evidence that Thunder has been poisoned with thallium." The veterinarian frowned. "Poisoned? That changes the treatment protocol entirely. But even so, if the damage is extensive enough..." His words trailed off as he noticed the bear's position. Thunder had managed to move closer to the window than he had been able to move in days, and his eyes were alert, following Emma's every movement as she pressed her small hands against the glass, still humming her song. "What's happening here?" Dr. Harmon asked, his clinical detachment momentarily forgotten. "We're not entirely sure," Olivia admitted. "But it seems this little girl has somehow reached him in a way none of our treatments could, and now that we know it's thallium poisoning, we can start proper treatment with Prussian blue to bind the toxin." Dr. Harmon set down his case and moved closer to the window, observing Thunder with new interest. "His responsiveness has improved dramatically from this morning's assessment. This is most unusual." As if to underscore the point, Thunder made a soft huffing sound, not a growl, but almost a greeting, directed at Emma. The little girl giggled in delight. "Be happy," she declared with certainty. Suddenly, Thunder's body tensed. His gaze shifted from Emma to a point beyond the group, toward the doorway. A low, warning rumble emanated from his throat, the first aggressive sound he had made in weeks. Everyone turned to see what had triggered the bear's reaction. Standing in the doorway was Nathan Collins, one of the newer sanctuary staff members who had been hired just 3 months ago as an assistant keeper. I heard about the delay in the procedure," Nathan said, his voice strangely tight. "I came to see if you needed any help." Thunder's growl deepened as Nathan took a step into the room. Dr. Winters narrowed her eyes, her scientist's mind putting pieces together. "That's odd. Thunder has never reacted negatively to any staff before, even when he was healthier." Nathan remained frozen in the doorway, a sheen of sweat breaking out on his forehead despite the room's cool temperature. "Animals can be unpredictable when they're sick," he offered weakly. Marcus studied the young keeper with growing suspicion. "Nathan, you don't usually work in the bear section. Your assignment is with the wolves on the north side." "I was just concerned," Nathan replied, taking a small step backward. "Everyone knows how important Thunder is to the sanctuary." Thunder's growl intensified as Nathan moved, causing Emma to look away from the bear for the first time since entering the observation room. She glanced at the man in the doorway, then back at Thunder, sensing the tension even with her limited understanding. Olivia was looking down at the tablet with the toxicology results, scrolling through the additional details. Her face paled as she read a particular passage. "The report says the thallium was likely administered in small doses over time, possibly in food." All eyes turned to Nathan, whose face had drained of color. He took another step backward, reaching behind him for the door handle. "Nathan," Marcus said firmly, moving to block the exit. "Is there something you want to tell us about Thunder's condition?" The young keeper's eyes darted around the room like a cornered animal. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just came to help." Thunder let out a roar that seemed impossible given his weakened state, a sound full of anger and accusation. Emma startled at the noise, but rather than crying in fear, she turned back to the bear with concern in her eyes. "Be mad," she stated, looking from Thunder to Nathan with surprising perception. Logan, whose work as a detective with the county sheriff's department had been mentioned during casual conversation earlier, stepped forward, his demeanor shifting subtly from concerned parent to law enforcement officer. "Mr. Collins," he said calmly but authoritatively, "I think we need to have a conversation about Thunder's poisoning." The tension in the room was palpable as Nathan's hand moved suddenly toward his jacket pocket. Dr. Harmon, reacting with unexpected speed, grabbed the keeper's wrist before he could retrieve whatever he was reaching for. "Security to Observation Room 3, immediately," Marcus spoke urgently into his radio as he helped Dr. Harmon restrain Nathan. Within minutes, sanctuary security arrived and took control of the situation. When they searched Nathan, they found not only a small vial of what appeared to be the same poison found in Thunder's system, but also identification indicating he wasn't Nathan Collins at all. "He's Jason Blackwood," the head of security informed them after running his real ID. "He works for Vista Development Corporation. the company that's been trying to buy the land adjacent to the sanctuary for their luxury resort. The same land where Thunder was found, Olivia realized, the pieces falling into place. The land that was declared protected habitat specifically because of Thunder's presence in the area. Outside the observation window, Thunder had managed to stay upright, his eyes never leaving the man he had somehow recognized as his poisoner. With the immediate threat contained, the bear's attention returned to Emma, who seemed remarkably calm despite the drama unfolding around her. "Be better?" she asked, pressing her hand against the glass once more. And, as if understanding her question, Thunder moved closer to the window, gently pressing his massive nose against the glass directly opposite Emma's tiny hand. Separated by inches of reinforced material, yet connected by something far more powerful than the barriers that divided them. "Yes, Emma," Olivia said, tears streaming down her face as she watched the miraculous interaction. "I think Thunder is going to get better now. Because of you." In the chaotic hours that followed, Pine Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary transformed into a flurry of activity. While sanctuary security handed Jason Blackwood over to the local police, Dr. Harmon and Olivia worked frantically to begin Thunder's treatment for thallium poisoning. The proper antidote, Prussian blue, had to be rushed in from a specialized veterinary hospital 2 counties away. "Will it work?" Marcus asked as they waited, watching Thunder, who, despite his brief surge of energy, had collapsed back onto the straw, his breathing once again labored but his eyes still alert, occasionally searching the now empty observation window. "It should bind to the thallium in his system and help him excrete it," Dr. Harmon explained. "But I won't lie, he's been poisoned for weeks. The damage to his organs could be permanent. We just don't know." The Reed family had been moved to the sanctuary's main building for questioning, both as witnesses and because of Logan's law enforcement connections. Emma, exhausted from the excitement, had fallen asleep in her mother's arms. "I still can't believe it," Savannah whispered, careful not to wake her daughter. "That man was slowly killing Thunder just to prevent land from being protected. How could anyone be so cruel?" Logan's face was grim as he scrolled through information on his phone. Vista Development Corporation has been trying to build luxury resorts throughout this region for years. The land adjacent to the sanctuary would be worth millions if developed. When Thunder was found there, it triggered an automatic habitat protection review. So they sent someone to infiltrate the sanctuary and eliminate the problem, Marcus concluded, his voice tight with anger. They must have assumed no one would suspect poisoning. Bears get sick, they die. It happens in nature. If we'd gone through with the euthanasia, no one would have ever known. A sanctuary volunteer rushed into the room, slightly out of breath. "The medication is here. They just delivered it to the medical building." Dr. Harmon immediately headed for the door, but paused, turning back to the Reed family. "Would you be willing to bring Emma back when she wakes up? I know it sounds strange, but Thunder's response to her was remarkable. That kind of psychological stimulus could be vital to his recovery." Logan and Savannah exchanged looks. After witnessing what had happened, how their daughter had not only somehow connected with the bear, but indirectly exposed a criminal, they felt strangely invested in Thunder's fate. "Of course," Savannah agreed. "We'll come back tomorrow." As the treatments began, no one at the sanctuary could have predicted how the story would spread. A staff member had captured video of Emma's interaction with Thunder, and by the next morning, it had been shared with local news outlets investigating the attempted corporate sabotage of the wildlife sanctuary. By nightfall, the video had gone viral nationwide. "Baby saves bear. Child's connection exposes wildlife poisoning plot," read one headline. "Corporate greed versus child's innocence." How a Toddler Uncovered Environmental Crime, proclaimed another. When the Reed family returned the next day, they found the sanctuary's parking lot filled with news vans and a line of visitors stretching around the block. "I had no idea," Savannah said, wide-eyed as they were escorted through a private entrance by Marcus. "This has gotten so big." "Thunder's story has touched Popple," Marcus explained as they walked, "and it couldn't have come at a better time. The sanctuary has been struggling financially for years. This attention might just save us." In the medical building, Olivia greeted them with cautious optimism. "The treatment is working. Slowly, but working. His blood tests showed decreased thallium levels. But—" She hesitated, looking at Emma, who was now wide awake and eager. "He's still very withdrawn. He's taking the medication, drinking water, but he's not eating solid food yet. His will to recover seems diminished since yesterday." "Would it help if Emma saw him again?" Logan asked, now fully supportive of this unusual connection despite his initial reservations. "I'd like to try," Olivia nodded. "We've moved him to a recovery enclosure with better observation access. It's more comfortable for him and safer for visitors." They followed her through the building to a new area where Thunder lay on a softly padded surface. Various monitors tracked his vital signs, and an IV drip delivered fluids and medication. The bear looked slightly better than the day before. His eyes were clearer, his breathing less labored, but he still appeared dangerously weak, his massive body somehow diminished. The moment Emma spotted him through the observation window, she lit up with recognition. "My bee!" she exclaimed, reaching toward the glass. Thunder's reaction was immediate. His ears perked forward, and he raised his head, nostrils flaring as if trying to catch her scent. A low, gentle rumble, not a growl, but almost a purr, emanated from his throat. "Extraordinary," whispered Dr. Winters, who had been documenting Thunder's behavior. His heart rate just increased to the normal range for the first time since he fell ill. For the next hour, Emma talked to Thunder in her limited toddler vocabulary, occasionally singing fragments of lullabies or making animal sounds that made everyone smile. Thunder remained focused on her, occasionally responding with soft huffs or gentle movements. Most importantly, when Dr. Harmon brought in a bowl of specially prepared food, rich in nutrients but easy to digest, Thunder actually ate while Emma watched and clapped her hands in delight. "I've never seen anything like this," Dr. Harmon admitted. "It's as if her presence gives him a reason to fight." As the days passed, a new routine developed. The Reed family would bring Emma to visit Thunder each afternoon, and each visit seemed to strengthen the bear's recovery. His blood work steadily improved. He began eating regular meals, and within a week he was strong enough to stand and move around his enclosure. Meanwhile, the story continued to spread, touching hearts around the world. Donations poured into the sanctuary, along with offers of support from wildlife organizations, environmental groups, and even celebrities championing animal rights. 2 weeks after the fateful day when Thunder was meant to be euthanized, Dr. Harmon delivered the news everyone had been hoping for. The thallium levels in his system are now negligible. His organ function has largely recovered. I believe Thunder is going to make a full recovery. The celebration among the staff was emotional, but no one was more affected than Olivia, who had cared for Thunder since his rescue. "I can't believe we came so close to losing him," she said, wiping away tears. "And all because of corporate greed." The investigation into Vista Development Corporation had expanded, revealing a pattern of environmental violations and questionable tactics across multiple states. Jason Blackwood, facing serious charges, had begun cooperating with authorities, providing evidence against his employers in exchange for leniency. On the 1-month anniversary of what the sanctuary now called the Miracle Connection, a special event was planned. The Reed family arrived to find the sanctuary transformed. New educational exhibits explained Thunder's story, the dangers of environmental crimes, and the importance of wildlife protection. A crowd of supporters, donors, and media waited expectantly in the newly constructed amphitheater. Marcus took the podium, his face solemn yet hopeful. 1 month ago, this sanctuary faced 2 tragedies: the impending loss of a magnificent animal and an insidious act of corporate sabotage. Today, we celebrate not only Thunder's recovery, but also the establishment of the Thunder Protection Fund, which will support wildlife sanctuaries nationwide in detecting and preventing similar crimes. Applause rippled through the crowd as he continued. And we would like to announce that, thanks to overwhelming public support and legal action, the land adjacent to our sanctuary, the land that Vista Development sought to exploit, has now been permanently designated as protected habitat, ensuring that animals like Thunder will always have a safe place to thrive. The cheers grew louder, but hushed quickly as Marcus gestured toward a large screen behind him. And now, for the moment many of you have been waiting for, Thunder's first day back in his outdoor habitat. The screen came to life, showing a large, naturalistic enclosure with a small pond, rocks for climbing, and plenty of shade trees. For a moment, the enclosure appeared empty, and then a door at the back slid open. Thunder emerged cautiously, his magnificent form fully restored to health. His coat gleamed in the sunlight, his movements powerful and confident as he surveyed his new home. "Look at that," Logan whispered, bouncing Emma on his hip so she could see better. "That's your bear friend, Emma. All better now." Emma pointed excitedly at the screen. "Thunder! Thunder better!" A collective gasp went through the crowd, followed by murmurs of confusion. Marcus turned to the Reed family with surprise. "How does she know his name? I don't think we ever mentioned it around her." Savannah and Logan exchanged puzzled looks. "We didn't teach her that," Savannah confirmed. "She's always just called him B before." Dr. Winters, who had been documenting the entire case for scientific publication, stepped forward with an intriguing theory. "There's something I discovered during my research into Thunder's background that I haven't shared yet. It might explain a few things." The crowd leaned in as she continued. The campsite where Thunder was originally found 3 years ago had been occupied by a young family before the storm drove them away. According to ranger reports at the time, they'd been camping there for nearly a week. The family had a young daughter, approximately 2 years old. A photo appeared on the screen, a campsite with a small tent, and a little girl petting what appeared to be a small, stuffed animal bear. The rangers interviewed the family after Thunder was found in their abandoned campsite. They reported that their daughter had named her stuffed bear Thunder because of the storms in the area, and they mentioned that during their stay they'd occasionally seen a bear cub watching them from the forest edge. The implication hung in the air. "Are you suggesting?" Olivia began, her scientific mind struggling with the possibility. "I'm suggesting that Thunder may have had early, positive interactions with humans as a young bear, specifically with a child and a stuffed bear that shared his name. Bears have excellent long-term memory. When Emma came along with her similar size, voice, and mannerisms." "He remembered," Marcus finished, awestruck by the possibility. As if to confirm this extraordinary theory, the screen showed Thunder approaching a log near the edge of his enclosure. He sniffed around it curiously, then used his massive paw to roll it aside, revealing something underneath. The camera zoomed in to show a small, weathered stuffed bear toy that the sanctuary staff had hidden as enrichment, a detail planned for today's event that only a few staff members had known about. Thunder gently picked up the toy in his mouth and carried it to a sunny spot in the enclosure, where he lay down and placed it carefully between his massive paws. There wasn't a dry eye in the amphitheater. The connection between innocence and one of nature's most powerful predators transcended scientific explanation. It spoke to something deeper, a reminder that kindness can survive in the most unlikely memories, that compassion can bridge the wildest divides, and that sometimes salvation comes from the smallest, purest hearts. As the event concluded and visitors dispersed to tour the sanctuary's new exhibits, the Reed family was invited to a private viewing area where they could see Thunder in person from a safe distance. Emma, now familiar with the routine, went straight to the glass, placing her small hand against it. Thunder, as if sensing her presence, rose from his resting place and ambled toward her, still carrying the stuffed bear toy. He settled down right at the edge of the viewing area, separated from Emma by the necessary safety barriers, but somehow connected by something far more powerful. "Be happy now," Emma stated with the simple certainty of a child. "Thunder happy." And as the mighty Grizzly gently nuzzled the small toy bear with the same tenderness he might have shown a cub of his own, no one could doubt the truth of her words. 6 months later, the Reed family received a special package from Pine Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary. Inside was a custom stuffed bear, meticulously crafted to look exactly like Thunder, along with a children's book titled Emma and Thunder, A Story of Healing. The note attached explained that the book would be distributed to children's hospitals nationwide, with proceeds supporting both wildlife conservation and children's health care programs. The final page of the book showed a little girl much like Emma standing at the edge of a forest, while in the shadows a bear watched over her protectively. Beneath the illustration were words that captured the essence of their extraordinary story. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from the gentlest touch, and sometimes the deepest wounds are healed by the simplest love. For Emma and Thunder, and for all of us, this is the miracle of connection. A reminder that in this vast, complicated world, innocence and compassion remain our most powerful medicines. Emma, now approaching her 2nd birthday and speaking in more complete sentences, hugged the Thunder-stuffed animal tightly. "My special bear," she declared with a smile. "We made him better." Savannah and Logan exchanged emotional glances, knowing that their daughter would likely not remember the details of this extraordinary experience as she grew older. But the story would remain, documented, celebrated, and shared, a testament to the mysterious bond between a dying bear and a baby girl who somehow knew exactly what he needed most: a reason to live, a connection to kindness, and a reminder that even in his darkest hour, he was not alone. And on quiet nights thereafter, when Emma would fall asleep clutching her Thunder Bear, her parents would sometimes sense a special kind of peace in their daughter's dreams, as if somewhere, in a sanctuary not so far away, a mighty grizzly was dreaming too, of a tiny hand against glass, a gentle voice singing lullabies, and the precious memory of being seen not as a fearsome creature, but as a friend worth saving. 3 years passed, transforming little Emma from a toddler who could barely string sentences together into a bright, inquisitive 5-year-old with a remarkable affinity for animals. The Thunder-stuffed bear remained her constant companion, worn from countless hugs, but never replaced despite Savannah's gentle suggestions that they buy a newer one. "He's not just a toy, Mommy," Emma would explain with the serious conviction only a child could muster. "He's special. He remembers." The Reed family had moved to a modest home on the outskirts of town, closer to Logan's work at the sheriff's department, and, perhaps not coincidentally, just a 20-minute drive from Pine Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary. They had become regular visitors and supporters, attending fundraisers and education events. Emma's connection with Thunder had evolved into a sanctuary tradition. Each month, on what the staff now called Miracle Day, the Reed family would visit, and Thunder would approach the viewing area as if he somehow knew the schedule. On a crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves drifted down around their car, Logan pulled into the sanctuary's parking lot for their monthly visit. Emma bounced with excitement in her car seat, clutching her Thunder Bear. "Do you think he'll remember it's my birthday, too?" she asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. Savannah smiled, exchanging a knowing look with Logan. "I'm sure he will, sweetheart." As they walked toward the entrance, they noticed something unusual. The sanctuary seemed quieter than normal. Olivia, now the sanctuary's director after Marcus had retired the previous year, met them at the gate with a strained smile. "Is everything okay?" Logan asked immediately, his detective instincts picking up on her tension. Olivia hesitated, glancing at Emma, who was already looking around eagerly for the path to Thunder's enclosure. "We've had a situation develop overnight. Maybe we could talk privately for a moment." Savannah nodded, kneeling beside Emma. "Honey, why don't you go with Miss Cassandra to the education center for a few minutes? Mommy and Daddy need to talk to Dr. Olivia about grown-up things." Dr. Winters, who had become something of a surrogate grandmother to Emma through their frequent visits, appeared as if on cue and took Emma's hand. "I've got some new animal puzzles in my office," she told the child. "And I heard it's someone's birthday today?" Once Emma was safely out of earshot, Olivia's professional composure cracked slightly. "Thunder is missing." "Missing?" Savannah echoed, her hand flying to her mouth. "How is that possible?" "His enclosure has state-of-the-art security." Olivia led them to a private office where security footage played on a monitor. At approximately 2:17 this morning, the power to the sanctuary was cut. Our backup generators kicked in as designed, but there was a 4-minute window before all systems were operational. During those 4 minutes, someone entered Thunder's enclosure. The grainy night vision footage showed a dark figure moving with purpose toward the sleeping bear. Logan leaned in, his law enforcement training evident in his focused analysis of the scene. "They knew exactly where the cameras were positioned," he observed. "And they're wearing some kind of tactical gear. Look at the way they move. This isn't an amateur." "We think they tranquilized him," Olivia continued, advancing the footage to show 2 additional figures entering the frame. These individuals brought in some kind of transport container. By the time our security team responded to the alarms, they had loaded Thunder and disappeared. "But why?" Savannah asked, her voice breaking slightly as she thought of how devastated Emma would be. "Thunder is microchipped, isn't he? He can't be sold or transported legally." Olivia's expression darkened. "We've been working with local authorities since discovering the theft at 5 a.m. There's evidence suggesting this wasn't a random incident. The lock system was bypassed using specialized equipment, and the perpetrators knew our security protocols." Logan's brow furrowed as he studied the footage more carefully. "Can you zoom in on that first individual? There's something familiar about their movements." As Olivia enhanced the image, a cold realization seemed to wash over Logan's face. "I need to make a call," he said, stepping outside the office with his phone. Savannah turned to Olivia, tears threatening to spill. "What do we tell Emma?" She's been looking forward to seeing Thunder for weeks. It's her birthday, and she's convinced he somehow knows it too. Before Olivia could respond, Logan returned, his expression grim but determined. Vista Development Corporation was acquired 6 months ago by Northland Resources. Their CEO is Andrew Blackwood, Jason Blackwood's father. You think this is some kind of revenge? Olivia asked, the implications sending a chill through the room. Or continuation of their original plan, Logan suggested. The protected land status is up for its 3-year review next month. If Thunder isn't there, the protection could be revoked, Olivia finished, understanding dawning on her face. They're still after the land. Savannah shook her head in disbelief. After everything that happened? The public outcry, the legal consequences? Corporate memory is long when millions of dollars are at stake, Logan said grimly. And Andrew Blackwood has powerful connections. He's been fighting the charges against his son for years, claiming Jason was set up. The door to the office opened, and Dr. Winters appeared with Emma, who was clutching a colorful certificate declaring her an honorary wildlife protector for her birthday. "Look what Miss Cassandra gave me," she exclaimed, but her smile faltered as she picked up on the adult's somber expressions. Her perceptiveness had always been remarkable for her age. "What's wrong? Where's Thunder?" The adults exchanged helpless glances, none wanting to break the child's heart on her birthday. Before they could formulate a gentle explanation, Emma's eyes widened with sudden understanding that seemed beyond her years. "Someone took him, didn't they?" she whispered, clutching her stuffed Thunder Bear tighter. "Bad people took my friend." Savannah knelt beside her daughter, amazed and heartbroken at her intuition. "Yes, sweetheart. Some bad people took Thunder away during the night, but Dr. Olivia and the police are going to find him and bring him back." Emma's reaction surprised them all. Instead of tears, her small face set with determination. "I can help find him." Logan smiled gently. "Honey, I know you care about Thunder, but finding him is a job for the police and—" "No, Daddy," Emma interrupted with uncharacteristic firmness. "I can really help. Thunder and I have a special connection. Remember how Miss Cassandra explained it. He remembers me from before." Dr. Winters knelt beside Emma, her scientific skepticism tempered by years of witnessing the inexplicable bond between child and bear. "Emma, what makes you think you can help find Thunder?" Emma looked down at her stuffed bear, then back up at the adults with unwavering certainty. "Sometimes I have dreams about what Thunder sees. Like when the big storm came last summer and he was scared of the thunder. I dreamed about it before you told us the sanctuary roof was damaged." The adults exchanged concerned glances. They remembered Emma mentioning a nightmare about Thunder being frightened by a storm, but had assumed it was just a childish fear projected onto her favorite animal. The sanctuary roof had indeed been damaged during a severe thunderstorm the following day. "And last night," Emma continued, her voice dropping to a whisper as if sharing a secret, "I dreamed about men in dark clothes putting Thunder to sleep and taking him away in a big metal box. I thought it was just a scary dream, but it wasn't, was it?" A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications of Emma's words sank in. Dr. Winters, who had documented every aspect of Thunder and Emma's connection for her research, was the first to speak. "There have been documented cases of unusual empathic bonds between humans and animals," she said carefully, her scientist's mind wrestling with possibilities that defied conventional explanation. "Emma's connection with Thunder has always been unprecedented." Logan, trained to follow evidence rather than speculation, remained skeptical but thoughtful. "Even if there is some kind of connection, how would that help us find Thunder now?" Emma tugged at her father's hand. "I can show you where they took him. In my dream, I saw mountains and a big lake, and a house with lots of windows. Thunder could see the lake from where they put him." The description was too vague to be immediately useful, but it triggered a memory for Olivia. "Andrew Blackwood has a private hunting lodge on Eagle Lake. It's about 3 hours from here, in the mountains. Very exclusive, very secure, and conveniently outside local jurisdiction. Logan immediately pulled out his phone. I need to call this in. If Blackwood is behind this, we'll need a warrant, and that won't be easy given his connections. As he stepped away to make the call, Savannah knelt beside Emma. Honey, are you sure about what you saw in your dream? This is very important. Emma nodded solemnly. Thunder was scared, but he wasn't hurt. The men put him in a small cage inside a big room with animal heads on the walls. She shuddered slightly. He doesn't like it there. He keeps looking for me. Dr. Winters was taking notes, her scientific skepticism giving way to the possibility that there might be something extraordinary at work. Emma, if you have any more dreams about Thunder, will you tell us right away? I will, Emma promised, clutching her stuffed bear. But we need to hurry. In my dream, the scary man said they need to finish it before the moon gets full. Olivia checked her phone calendar. The full moon is in 3 days. Logan returned, his expression tight. I've spoken with my captain. Without hard evidence connecting Blackwood to the theft, we can't get a warrant for the lodge. They're sending officers to question him at his office in the city, but if he's smart, and he is, there won't be anything to find there. We can't just wait, Savannah protested. If Blackwood intends to harm Thunder. I have an idea, Doctor. Winters interjected, her eyes bright with sudden inspiration. The documentary crew. Everyone turned to her in confusion. The Nature Channel documentary team has been filming at the sanctuary for their Remarkable Animal Connections series, she explained. They've been following Thunder and Emma's story for months. They have drones, specialized cameras, and most importantly, press credentials that would allow them to conduct aerial surveys of the lake area for wildlife documentation without requiring a warrant. Would they help us? Savannah asked, hope flickering to life. Olivia was already reaching for her phone. Their producer, Maya Chen, has become personally invested in Thunder's story. If anyone would bend the rules to help, it's her. Within an hour, the sanctuary's conference room had transformed into an impromptu command center. Maya Chen and her documentary team had arrived with their equipment, determined to help find Thunder. Emma sat at the center of the activity, drawing detailed pictures of what she had seen in her dream, while Dr. Winters gently questioned her about specific details. There was a big eagle statue outside, Emma said, carefully coloring a surprisingly accurate raptor shape. And the house had a green roof. Thunder could see lots of trees and the water from a small window with bars. Maya studied the drawings. That sounds like Blackwood's Lodge. It's famous in architectural circles, built to look like a giant hunting trophy itself, with a distinctive green copper roof. The eagle statue is their family emblem. But we still can't prove Thunder is there, Logan pointed out, frustration evident in his voice. Even with drone footage, unless we actually see Thunder, we have no grounds for a search. Emma looked up from her drawing, her eyes suddenly wide. I can make Thunder show himself. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the small girl. What do you mean, sweetheart? Savannah asked gently. When I sing our special song, Thunder always comes to me, Emma explained as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. If I can get close enough to the lake house and sing, maybe he'll hear me and make noise or try to get out. The adults exchanged uncertain glances. The idea seemed far-fetched, yet Thunder's responsiveness to Emma had been documented countless times over the years. It's too dangerous, Logan said firmly. We're not bringing our 5-year-old daughter anywhere near Blackwood's property. But what if we don't need to? Maya suggested, tapping her tablet to bring up a technical schematic. Our sound equipment includes directional amplifiers designed to capture distant animal calls. We could reverse the system, broadcast Emma's voice toward the lodge from a safe distance across the lake. If Thunder is there and responds, we'd have our probable cause, Logan finished, considering the possibility. Dr. Winters nodded slowly. It's unorthodox, but then again, everything about Thunder and Emma's connection has defied conventional explanation. If there's even a small chance it could work. Within hours, a plan had been set in motion. The documentary team would conduct a legitimate aerial wildlife survey of Eagle Lake, focusing particularly on the area around Blackwood's Lodge. Meanwhile, a small team including Logan, Olivia, and Dr. Winters would position themselves at a public campground across the lake, where Emma could attempt to reach Thunder through the sound equipment. As they prepared to leave, Savannah pulled Logan aside. Are we crazy for doing this? Following a 5-year-old's dream and hoping a bear somehow hears her singing from across a lake? Logan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Probably, but after everything we've witnessed with Thunder and Emma over the years, I've learned to keep an open mind. And right now, this is our best shot. The journey to Eagle Lake took just under 3 hours, with the documentary team's vehicles leading the way. Emma slept for most of the trip, clutching her Thunder Bear and occasionally murmuring in her sleep. When she suddenly woke with a start, her eyes were wide and frightened. They're putting something in Thunder's food, she said urgently. Something to make him sleep forever. We need to hurry. The caravan increased their speed, racing against a clock they couldn't see but could feel ticking down with each passing mile. As they approached Eagle Lake, the documentary team split off to launch their drone from a designated area, while Logan drove the family to the campground on the opposite shore from Blackwood's impressive lodge. Maya coordinated the operation via radio. Drone is in the air. We're conducting a standard survey pattern to avoid suspicion, beginning with the north shore and working our way around. At the campground, the sound technicians quickly but discreetly set up their equipment, disguising the powerful directional speakers as ordinary camping gear. Emma stood on the shore, practicing the lullaby she had sung to Thunder since she was a toddler, her small voice clear and determined. "We're ready when you are," the sound engineer told Logan, handing him a small remote. "This will activate the system. The sound will be projected directly toward the lodge, but it won't be audible to anyone more than a few feet away from Emma on this side. The technology focuses the sound waves in one direction only." Logan knelt beside his daughter. "Are you ready, sweetheart? Remember, Thunder might not be able to hear you, and even if he does, he might not be able to respond. We don't want you to be disappointed if—" "He'll hear me, Daddy," Emma said with absolute certainty. "We just need to help him show the police where he is so they can rescue him." With a nod from Logan, the technician activated the system. Emma began to sing, her voice carrying across the lake to the imposing structure on the opposite shore, yet somehow intimate and personal. A private communication between a child and her extraordinary friend. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are." Up above the world, so high, like a diamond in the sky. The drone circled the perimeter of Blackwood's property, its high-definition cameras scanning for any unusual activity. Maya's voice came through the radio, tense but professional. No external signs of a bear, moving to thermal imaging. Emma continued singing, adding the personal variations she had developed over years of visits with Thunder. Little changes in melody, affectionate names woven into the lyrics, the kind of secret language that develops between close friends. "Thunder, thunder, mighty bear, I will find you anywhere. Show them where you're hidden now. We will save you. I know how." Suddenly, Maya's voice crackled through the radio with barely contained excitement. Movement on the north side. Thermal imaging shows a large heat signature in what appears to be an outbuilding, consistent with bear size. Logan's heart raced as he relayed the news to the others. Emma, without missing a beat in her song, smiled knowingly, as if she had never doubted the outcome. "Keep singing, sweetheart," Savannah encouraged, tears in her eyes as she watched her daughter's unwavering faith manifest into reality. "Thunder Bear, it's your Emma. Please make noise like a dilemma. Let them hear you, let them see. Then forever you'll be free." As if responding directly to her improvised lyrics, a loud, distinctive bellow echoed across the lake, the unmistakable roar of a grizzly bear. Even at this distance, the power of it carried naturally over the water, causing heads to turn among other campers nearby. "We got him!" Maya's voice was triumphant through the radio. Clear audio and visual confirmation of a grizzly bear on Blackwood property. The drone captured the animal responding to Emma's broadcast. "He's standing at a barred window in the north outbuilding, roaring toward our position." Logan was already on his phone, calling in the evidence to the local sheriff. "We have probable cause for an emergency warrant. A protected microchipped grizzly bear has been located on Andrew Blackwood's property. We have video and audio confirmation from a licensed wildlife documentary team." Within minutes, sirens could be heard approaching from multiple directions. The local authorities, already alerted to the possibility of finding Thunder, had been staged nearby, waiting for just this confirmation. As multiple patrol cars converged on Blackwood's property, Emma finally stopped singing, her small shoulders sagging with exhaustion but her face glowing with satisfaction. "I told you he'd hear me," she said simply, hugging her stuffed Thunder Bear as they watched the unfolding police activity across the lake. The rescue operation moved with surprising speed. Local authorities, accompanied by wildlife experts from the sanctuary, secured the outbuilding where Thunder was being held. Andrew Blackwood, caught literally red-handed with a syringe containing a lethal dose of pentobarbital, was arrested on site. His security personnel, faced with overwhelming police presence and irrefutable evidence, surrendered without resistance. Thunder, though sedated, was alive and appeared unharmed beyond the effects of the tranquilizers. Under Olivia's supervision, he was carefully loaded into a specialized transport vehicle and prepared for the journey back to the sanctuary. As the convoy prepared to depart, a police officer approached the Reed family with a strange request. "The bear won't cooperate with loading," he explained. "He keeps resisting even though he's partially sedated." Dr. Bennett suggested that maybe, she thought perhaps Emma might help calm him. Logan and Savannah exchanged concerned glances. "That's asking a lot of a 5-year-old, Logan pointed out. "And it could be dangerous, even with Thunder." "I can do it, Daddy," Emma insisted, already moving toward the police cruiser. "Thunder needs to know he's safe now." After a lengthy negotiation involving multiple layers of safety protocols, Emma was allowed to approach the transport vehicle. Still protected by reinforced barriers, but close enough that Thunder could see and hear her. The massive bear, despite his groggy state, immediately focused on the small figure, his agitation visibly subsiding. "It's okay, Thunder," Emma called softly. "You're going home now. The bad people can't hurt you anymore." As if understanding every word, Thunder relaxed, allowing the handlers to secure him properly for transport. His eyes never left Emma until the doors finally closed. On the journey back to the sanctuary, Emma fell into an exhausted sleep, but with a peaceful smile on her face. When they finally arrived back at Pine Ridge late that night, She insisted on staying until Thunder was safely settled in his enclosure, watching the process through heavy-lidded eyes that refused to close until she was certain her friend was truly safe. "Best birthday ever," she mumbled as Logan carried her sleeping form to the car. The following weeks brought a whirlwind of activity. Andrew Blackwood faced multiple serious charges, including theft of protected wildlife, attempted destruction of endangered habitat, and conspiracy. The evidence uncovered during the investigation revealed a complex scheme involving falsified environmental impact reports and bribes to officials overseeing the Land Protection Review. Thunder, after a thorough medical examination, confirming he had suffered no permanent harm, returned to his normal routines at the sanctuary, with one notable exception. He now had a new, specially designed observation area where Emma could visit under safe conditions that allowed for closer interaction than the standard public viewing areas. The story of Emma's dream and her role in locating Thunder captured public imagination even more powerfully than the original rescue had years earlier. The documentary team, which had captured the entire rescue operation, produced a special broadcast that broke viewership records and prompted a surge of support for wildlife protection initiatives nationwide. On the one-month anniversary of Thunder's rescue, the sanctuary hosted a private celebration. As Emma approached the special observation area, Thunder was already waiting, as if he had sensed her arrival. When she pressed her hand against the glass, he placed his massive paw in the corresponding position on his side, a gesture they had repeated countless times over the years, yet one that never failed to move those who witnessed it. "I want to read you something," Emma said, pulling a carefully folded paper from her pocket. With Savannah's help, she unfolded it to reveal a child's handwritten poem. "My friend has fur and mighty claws, but gentle heart beneath his paws. He speaks to me without a word, his thoughts inside my dreams are heard. When danger came to take him away, I knew that I could not delay. Across the lake my song did fly to reach his ears and make him cry. Now Thunder safe at home can stay, protected all his living days, and I will visit, rain or shine, this special bear, forever mine." Dr. Winters, who had been documenting the moment for her continuing research, wiped away a tear. "Emma, did you write that yourself?" Emma nodded proudly. "I wanted to make something special for Thunder. Do you think he likes it?" As if in answer, Thunder made a soft huffing sound, the same gentle vocalization he had always reserved for Emma alone. It wasn't a growl or a roar, but something uniquely theirs, a communication that transcended conventional understanding. "I believe he does," Dr. Winters said, smiling as she added another remarkable observation to her already extraordinary case study. Later that evening, as the sanctuary closed and the last visitors departed, Olivia found Logan and Savannah in the main office, reviewing the new security upgrades that had been installed following Thunder's abduction. "There's something I'd like to discuss with you," she said, placing a folder on the desk between them. "It's about Emma." Inside was a proposal for a new youth conservation program, centered around the documented bond between Emma and Thunder. The program would offer opportunities for children to learn about wildlife preservation through Emma's unique perspective, developing empathy and understanding that could inspire the next generation of conservationists. "We'd like Emma to be our first wildlife ambassador," Olivia explained. "It would involve regular visits, some supervised interactions with younger children, and participation in our education events. All age-appropriate, of course, and always with your oversight." Logan and Savannah looked at each other, communicating silently in the way parents do when making important decisions about their child's future. "We'd need to ask Emma," Savannah said finally. "This would be her choice." When presented with the opportunity, Emma's response was immediate and enthusiastic. Does this mean I can help more animals like Thunder? That's exactly what it means, Olivia confirmed with a smile. Then yes, Emma declared, hugging her ever-present Thunder Bear tightly. Thunder says yes, too. As the program developed over the following months, something remarkable began to emerge. Children who participated in Emma's sessions, hearing her speak about her connection with Thunder and witnessing their interactions, seemed to develop a deeper, more personal connection to wildlife conservation. What had begun as one extraordinary relationship between a child and a bear had sparked something larger. A growing circle of young minds open to the possibility that humans and animals might understand each other in ways science was only beginning to comprehend. Dr. Winters, now well into her 70s but energized by this new avenue of research, began documenting what she called the Emma effect, the measurable increase in empathy and conservation commitment among children who had participated in the Ambassador program. I've spent my career studying animal cognition and human-animal bonds, she told a conference of wildlife behaviorists. But what we're seeing with Emma and Thunder, and now with the children influenced by their story, challenges our fundamental understanding of interspecies communication. These children aren't just learning about animals, they're developing intuitive connections with them that defy our traditional scientific frameworks. On the first anniversary of Thunder's dramatic rescue, a new wing of the sanctuary was dedicated. The Emma Reed Center for Wildlife Empathy. The center combined cutting-edge research facilities with interactive educational exhibits designed to foster the kind of emotional connection to wildlife that Emma had demonstrated so powerfully. As Emma, now 6 years old, cut the ceremonial ribbon, with help from her parents, Thunder watched from his specially designed observation area nearby. The massive grizzly, now fully recovered and more magnificent than ever, huffed softly as if offering his approval. A reporter covering the event asked Emma a question that many had wondered, but few had dared to ask directly. How do you and Thunder talk to each other in your dreams? Emma considered the question with a thoughtfulness beyond her years. It's not really talking with words, she explained, struggling to articulate something that came to her naturally. It's more like feeling what he feels, seeing what he sees. It's like when you know someone really, really well, and you can tell what they're thinking just by looking at them. Except with Thunder, I don't even have to see him to know. That night, after the celebrations had ended and the family had returned home, Emma had another dream. But unlike the frightening visions that had helped her locate Thunder during his abduction, this dream was peaceful. She saw forests and mountains from a perspective much higher than her own, felt the cool earth beneath massive paws, sensed the freedom of roaming through pristine wilderness. When she awoke, she understood what Thunder had been trying to tell her. He wants to go home, she announced at breakfast, surprising her parents with her certainty. What do you mean, sweetheart? Savannah asked gently. Thunder is home at the sanctuary. Emma shook her head. Not that home. His real home. In the mountains where they found him. He was happy at the sanctuary because he was sick and needed help, and because I was there. But now he needs to be with other bears. He showed me in my dream. The conversation that followed led to months of careful planning, consultation with wildlife experts, and many emotional discussions about what would be best for Thunder and for Emma. The bear had fully recovered from both his original illness and the trauma of his abduction. The protected land where he had originally been found had been expanded into a national wildlife refuge. Under normal circumstances, Thunder would be an ideal candidate for rewilding. But his bond with Emma complicated matters. Could he readjust to life in the wild? Would separation be traumatic for either of them? The questions were unprecedented, with no clear answers in any wildlife management protocol. In the end, it was Emma herself who provided the clarity they needed. "Thunder knows I'll always be his friend," she explained, with the simple wisdom of a child who understands the true meaning of love. "But he belongs in the forest with other bears. That's what would make him happiest." And so, on a pristine spring morning, as wildflowers carpeted the mountain meadows, a small group gathered at the edge of the newly established Thunder Ridge Wildlife Refuge. Thunder, fitted with a tracking collar that would allow researchers to monitor his transition back to the wild, waited in a specialized transport cage. Emma approached, carrying not her stuffed Thunder Bear, which now sat in a place of honor on her bedroom shelf, but a small wooden box she had decorated herself. "This is for you to remember me," she told Thunder, opening the box to reveal a child's bracelet woven from colorful threads. With Dr. Winter's supervision, the bracelet was carefully attached to Thunder's tracking collar, a small token that would eventually fall away, but would accompany him on his first steps back into freedom. When the moment came to open the transport cage, Emma was given the honor of pulling the release lever. As the door swung open, Thunder hesitated, looking back at the small human who had twice been instrumental in saving his life. "Go on," Emma encouraged, her voice breaking slightly, but her smile brave. "It's okay. I'll still see you in my dreams." With one final huff, that special sound he made only for her, Thunder lumbered out of the cage and into the wilderness, pausing once at the edge of the forest to look back before disappearing among the trees. The tracking data over the following months told a story of successful readaptation. Thunder established a territory, found food sources, and eventually encountered other bears. Emma, true to her word, occasionally reported dreams of mountain streams, berry patches, and star-filled nights viewed from high ridges, glimpses, perhaps, of Thunder's new life. On Emma's 7th birthday, the family visited a special observation platform built at the edge of the refuge. Though there was no guarantee of a sighting, Emma insisted this was where she wanted to celebrate. As the family shared a picnic lunch, a movement at the forest edge caught their attention. A massive grizzly emerged into the clearing below, immediately identifiable by the tracking collar still around his neck, though the bracelet had long since fallen away. Though too far away for interaction, Thunder seemed to sense their presence. He raised his head, catching the scent on the breeze, and then did something remarkable. Rising onto his hind legs, he stood tall and proud, gazing in their direction for a long moment before dropping back to all fours and returning to the forest. "He came to say happy birthday," Emma said with absolute certainty, tears of joy streaming down her face, "and to show us he's happy." As the years passed, Emma grew from a child into a young woman, her extraordinary connection with Thunder shaping her life in profound ways. She pursued studies in wildlife biology and interspecies communication, bringing both scientific rigor and intuitive understanding to a field that was increasingly open to exploring the deeper mysteries of animal consciousness. Thunder lived a full life in the wilderness, eventually fathering cubs of his own and becoming something of a legend among the researchers who tracked his remarkable adaptation back to the wild. His territory always included the observation platform where the Reed family had picnicked years before, and rangers often reported sightings of him in that clearing on or near Emma's birthday each year, a coincidence too consistent to be easily dismissed. The story of Emma and Thunder became more than just an internet sensation or a documentary subject. It evolved into a case study that challenged scientific paradigms, inspired conservation efforts, and opened minds to the possibility that the connections between humans and animals might be deeper and more meaningful than we had ever imagined. But perhaps the most important legacy was the simplest, a reminder that compassion, even from the smallest among us, has the power to change lives, to heal wounds, both visible and hidden, and to build bridges across the seemingly unbridgeable divides between species. And somewhere in the mountains, beneath star-filled skies, a mighty grizzly might still dream occasionally of a tiny hand against glass, a gentle voice singing lullabies, and the precious gift of being truly seen. Not as a fearsome creature, but as a friend worth saving,